Hello everyone, welcome to the Spooky Noodles Podcast. Today we'll be covering the legend of the Wendigo. The Wendigo has become quite popular in the modern age, but it is often misunderstood. The term skinwalker is often erroneously used to refer to these creatures, and likewise. But I assure you that these creatures are nothing alike. But anyways, what exactly stalks the Algonquian tribes? There are two main depictions of the Wendigo. For the sake of brevity, I'll be referring to these depictions as forms, although it should be noted that they are technically the same thing. The first form of the Wendigo is represented as a spirit. This spirit possesses humans and curses them with both an unending hunger and a yearning for human flesh. As you can imagine, a cannibal who is always hungry is probably someone you wouldn't want to be around. Thanks to these factors, the possessed person becomes extremely violent. The second form of the Wendigo is represented as a beast. This beast is massive, far surpassing the height of humans. It shares the appearance of a skinny and heavily deformed deer. It has a skull over its face with massive antlers that shoot out of it. It wears the skull like a mask, although it is unclear if it is actually the creature's skull or not. Unfortunately for us, this rendition of the creature still enjoys snacking on human flesh. This beast is usually smelled before it can be seen. It reeks of rotting flesh. It should be noted that the Wendigo are a species. Wendigos reside among the forests of the northern United States and Canada. Wendigos are heavily associated with both snow and cold weather for this reason. These are the same areas that the Algonquian people resided in. Some of the Algonquian tribes lived in the Midwest United States. They probably encountered the Wendigo a lot less often. There are some differing methods, but the most common way of transforming into a Wendigo is by committing an act of cannibalism. This seems to be the same for both the spirit and beast variants of the Wendigo. Spirit form Wendigos are said to be able to enter the dreams of people, and after biting them in these dreams, they are possessed. It is also believed that if a person spends too much time near a beast form Wendigo, they may turn into one as well. Another common factor between sources is the price of greed. Those who display excessive greed or gluttony are significantly more likely to become Wendigos. However, those who are starving are also significantly more likely to become Wendigos. A lot of themes and moral lessons can be found with the tale of the Wendigo. Of course, there is the usual example of making people act right, but the Wendigo is more than that. It represents gluttony and simultaneously greed. This is evident by the unending hunger of the Wendigo. It also represents the harshness of the land since it is always cold and hungry. If there was one word to describe this entity, it would be profligacy. In the modern age, the word has also become a descriptor. Metaphorically, those who partake in the same downfalls that inspired the Wendigo, in a sense, become one. There is an illness named after the beast. Wendigo psychosis refers to a mental issue where someone has an extreme desire to consume human flesh. The Wendigo has made all sorts of appearances throughout different types of media. In the horror movie Antlers, the Wendigo plays a big role. Guess what that might be? In the Lone Ranger reboot, the idea of the Wendigo is mentioned a few times, although an actual Wendigo is never spotted. It is funny to note that the movie takes place in Texas, not northern USA. In the horror game Until Dawn, the Wendigo is the main antagonist. I forgot to point this out for the Jersey Devil, but Fallout 76 has cryptids in the game. The Devil is one of them, but more importantly, there are Wendigos. They look nothing like the traditional Wendigo, but they do still share some similarities. The Stephen King book, Pet Sematary, was technically inspired by the tale of the Wendigo. There is also a Marvel character named Wendigo, and he shares the properties of a real Wendigo. If you enjoyed this analysis, please consider sticking around for more. Next Sunday, we will be covering the mystery behind a haunted video. Our sources are linked in the show notes. If you've got suggestions or tips for future episodes, please contact us at our email spookynoodlespod@gmail.com or at our Twitter @spookynoodles. Your feedback is greatly appreciated. Make sure to keep your taste for horror alive by watching the next episode of Spooky Noodles on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube. Thank you for listening.